It started with a call that came in just after dawn. A local jogger, out for his usual run through the sleepy town of Haverhill, had stumbled upon something strange in the park. He said it looked like a mannequin at first, pale, motionless, half covered in dew. But as he got closer, he realized it wasn't plastic at all. It was a woman. Haverhill was the kind of place people moved to for peace. Quiet streets, picket fences, community bake sales. The last homicide anyone could remember was over 20 years ago, and even that had been a tragic accident. So when police arrived that morning, the town's sense of safety shattered instantly. The woman was lying in the grass near the edge of Maplewood Park, one shoe missing, her purse gone. There were no signs of a struggle, no drag marks, no blood around her. But what caught investigators' eyes almost immediately was something that didn't belong. Someone had placed a silver key right next to her hand. It was old-fashioned, ornate, and completely clean. No prints. No smudges. Just gleaming metal resting against the damp earth. The medical examiner confirmed she'd been strangled. No defensive wounds, no signs of sexual assault. It was as if she'd simply stopped breathing. Her name was Allison Crane, 34, a local real estate agent. She'd been showing a house the night before and never made it home. Her husband, Daniel, had reported her missing around midnight, saying she'd texted him she was wrapping up soon. Detectives searched her car, her phone records, every property she'd visited. Nothing unusual. But that key, that was different. It didn't match any of her house or office keys. It didn't fit any lock they could find. It was just there. And when the story hit the local news, it terrified people. Because Haverhill wasn't the kind of place for mysteries. A month later, it happened again. This time, a man named Gary Holt, 58, a retired mail carrier, was found in his garage. The scene was eerily similar. No forced entry. No struggle. No blood. Just Gary, slumped in a lawn chair, eyes wide open. And beside him, a single silver key. Same make. Same intricate design. Now, two victims with no connection, and identical calling cards. The local police, who weren't used to major crimes, called in the state bureau. They searched for patterns. Maybe a serial offender with ritualistic tendencies. But what stood out most was the precision. Whoever this person was, they were calm. Controlled. No fingerprints, no hair, no fibers. Nothing. As detectives dug deeper, they found one odd detail. Both victims, Allison and Gary, had recently worked with the same small bank, Pine Hollow Savings and Amp Loan. Allison had handled a property foreclosure financed by the bank. Gary had taken out a home renovation loan. Then, but it was the only link they had. The bank's records were checked, employees interviewed, and security footage combed through. Nothing. By midsummer, the town had changed. People locked their doors. The grocery store was half empty after sunset. Parents stopped letting kids ride their bikes past the park. Then, the third body appeared. July 29, a teenage girl named Emily Saunders, 17, disappeared on her way home from her part-time job at the diner. Her bike was found on a back road leading toward the old train yard. She was discovered 2 days later in a storage shed behind the freight depot. No signs of struggle. No trauma. And again, beside her, placed neatly on the ground, a silver key. The case now had a signature. The media started calling the unknown suspect the key killer. It stuck, partly because it sounded so strange, and partly because nobody could figure out what the keys meant. Each was identical. Same design. Same weight. And all traced back to nowhere, not from any known manufacturer. A forensic specialist confirmed something chilling: the keys weren't made using modern tools. They were handcrafted. Possibly forged. Which meant someone had put time, a lot of time, into making them. As the months dragged on, theories spread like wildfire. Some thought the killer was targeting random people. Others believed there had to be a pattern: guilt, secrets, or debts unpaid. Then, a break. A retired locksmith named Harold Green came forward after seeing a news report. He told police the design of those keys looked familiar, too familiar. Decades ago, a craftsman named Leonard Fitch had made ornate locks and keys by hand for wealthy clients. Leonard lived just outside Haverhill until his death in 1989. Detectives followed the lead to Leonard's old workshop, now abandoned and half collapsed. Inside, they found rusted tools, broken molds, and blueprints, all matching the same pattern as the killer's keys. It felt like a breakthrough. Except Leonard had been dead for over 30 years. So the question became, who was using his designs now? Weeks passed with no movement. Then, another body. This one was found inside a motel room off Route 17. The victim was a drifter, mid-30s, no local ties. Cause of death, same as the others. And next to the body, another silver key. But this time, it was broken. Half of it snapped clean down the middle, as if crushed in anger. Investigators scoured the motel for DNA or prints. Nothing. But they did find one odd clue, a faint smudge on the window pane. When enhanced, it looked like the shape of a small letter F. Maybe a coincidence. Maybe not. By now, Haverhill was under siege from its own fear. Reporters camped outside the police station. Every strange noise at night brought calls to 911. And the pressure on lead detective Sarah Keene was immense. Sarah was methodical, patient, but the lack of progress was eating at her. She started to see the case everywhere. One night, while going over case files, she noticed something subtle but alarming. Each victim had been killed on a date that, when rearranged numerically, matched the digits in the coordinates for Maplewood Park, the site of the first murder. It couldn't be coincidence. Sarah drove out to the park in the dead of night, flashlight in hand. She walked to the same spot where Allison Crane's body had been found months earlier. The grass had grown back, the police tape long gone. But as she looked closer at the base of a nearby oak tree, something glinted under the beam of her light. A small metal plaque, half buried in dirt. She brushed it clean and read the engraving, "Every lock deserves its key." Her stomach dropped. The next morning, she brought a team to dig around the area. Beneath the tree, they found a narrow wooden box, sealed tight. Inside were 6 handcrafted keys, all matching the others. 6 keys. But only 4 known victims. That meant there were 2 more waiting. The FBI got involved. Behavioral analysts profiled the killer as meticulous, intelligent, emotionally detached, someone who viewed the murders as an art form. They believed the killer might be male, mid-40s to 50s, possibly connected to locksmithing or metalwork. Someone who saw keys not as objects, but as symbols. The town of Haverhill turned into a fortress. Cameras went up everywhere. Curfews. Neighborhood watch groups. But none of it stopped what came next. Victim number 5 appeared that December, a local reporter named Hannah McGill, who had been investigating the earlier murders. She was discovered in her car, engine running, doors locked from the inside. No signs of a struggle. Resting on the dashboard, a silver key. Only this time, the key had something new, a small engraving near the bow. It was a number, 6. Police speculated it could mean she was the 6th victim, but that didn't fit. By their count, she was 5th. Unless there was another body they hadn't found yet. 2 weeks later, during the first heavy snow of the season, that question was answered. A hunter came across a frozen figure in the woods outside town, a man, partially buried under snow and leaves. His name was Evan Ross, 30, a handyman who'd done odd jobs around Haverhill. And next to him, as always, was a key. This one had a 7 etched into it. 7. But there were only 6 keys found under the oak. Detective Keene's realization was immediate: the killer was one step ahead. The box under the tree wasn't a map of future victims. It was a message. A taunt. The final key wasn't for a victim. It was for her. That night, Sarah went home, exhausted, haunted, and still clutching the photograph of the plaque. She poured herself a drink and tried to silence the noise in her mind. Around midnight, her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She hesitated, then answered. A man's voice, calm, steady, almost polite, said just one sentence: "Detective, I think you've been holding my key." The line went dead. Sarah immediately called it in, but the number traced nowhere. Burner phone. When officers arrived at her house to check the perimeter, they found no sign of forced entry, no evidence of anyone nearby. But lying on her front porch, in plain sight, was a single silver key. Identical to the others. She sent it straight to forensics. This time, for the first time, they found a partial fingerprint. But when it was run through every national database, it didn't match anyone. And then, just like that, the killing stopped. No more victims. No more keys. The investigation stayed open for years, with new detectives picking at the same threads. Some believe the killer died or moved away. Others thought he was still there, living quietly among them, satisfied with what he'd done. To this day, the silver keys are locked away in an evidence vault in the Haverhill Police Department, each one identical, yet heavy with meaning no one has ever deciphered. And every so often, someone new moves into town. Someone who doesn't know the history. They walk their dog past the park. They visit the old bank. They buy a house, paint the walls, and settle in. And sometimes, just sometimes, they find a small metal key in the grass. Clean. Shining. Waiting. Maybe it's nothing. Or maybe it's a reminder that some doors were never meant to be opened.